really quick just before we get started. The first half of this video is really low resolution because two of my cameras were not functioning due to an SD card error, but don't worry, the second half of this video, when the Jeep actually runs, is much better quality. So first I've pulled out this choke valve, this plate right here, and it kind of turns like this so that it chokes the carburetor out. And then this is the lever because it was a manual choke. You turn this from the inside to choke the carburetor, so it goes in this hole right here. And it actually went through the carburetor, but it attached to that choke valve. So now let's go to the inside. I'm just going to show you where the choke would come out, that lever. So it would come out of that hole right there. You could turn it, and you would turn it counterclockwise like the arrow shows. Right here, there was the word choke. You can barely see it now, especially with low resolution. But yeah, so that's how you would choke the engine. It was from the inside, it was manual. So this is kind of the carburetor assembly that we have here. This part is called the air horn. Now, I didn't know this part. I'm actually looking up the different parts in the Jeep files that we got online. So this here that I'm pulling out, this is called the fuel float, or also the float assembly. And it would usually hook onto the carburetor right here. Now, unfortunately, I took the carburetor apart because I misunderstood certain directions. It so happens that when your father tells you to clean out the carburetor, he doesn't usually mean for you to take the whole thing apart. Anyhow, when I took the carburetor apart, I lost the pin that was supposed to hold the float onto the air horn. So I'm going to take this carburetor off since I lost the part to this carburetor and use the carburetor from the other Jeep. I'm actually sending this whole carburetor into a shop to have it repaired with a new pin, as well as have it refurbished and everything, so that hopefully it runs well and has all new gaskets and everything. You'll find out what went wrong later in the video when we try to run the Jeep with the other carburetor, which happens to have an automatic choke instead of a manual choke as this one does. Alright, so I just got the carburetor off of the other Jeep. Now it's time to put it on this one. Carburetor isn't easy to do one-handed, but I'm just going to place the carburetor on here. And then I'll get the nuts on the studs, and I'll get the carburetor goes on. So there we go. And I just need to grab the nuts over here. Trying to find them with one hand, and the other hand is not easy. I'll just tighten it with, I'll just hand tighten it for right now, but I'll tighten it with a wrench in a minute off camera so that I can use both hands. So this cable here, this is to the throttle. It's just a ball and socket joint, kind of a neat connection for this one. When you put your foot on the pedal, then it pulls this cable and pulls this lever right here. So it just turns that like that. And now that we have everything necessary connected back up to the carburetor, which I did off camera so I could use both hands, now we just need to remove the old fuel filter and put a new one on so that the carburetor and engine don't get fed, bad or dirty fuel. There could be dirt inside the filter because of a bad seal around that middle section or anything. I'm just going to trim each hose loose after I remove each hose clamp and get this fuel filter pulled out of the hoses. Now, we did buy new hoses in addition to the new fuel filter, so as we're putting on the new fuel filter, we don't have to worry about ruining or breaking the old hoses since they are pretty brittle, and we can also be sure that they'll seal properly and they won't leak, as the old hoses could very well possibly do. Alright, folks, now for the part everyone wants to see, including me. Oh, wait. I think I've already seen it. Anyhow, if your eyes aren't already bugged out from the 10-pixel 1954 resolution, you have now been upgraded to a much better resolution. However, before we start the Jeep, here are the final results of the poll I sent out, and a whopping 2 people voted. That's just incredible. Just joking. It's okay, but no one got it right, so let's take a look at the exhaust here. So rather, instead of fire or water as the 2 people voted, it was actually dirt that came out of the exhaust, and lots of it too. Of course, fire would have been more fun to see, but then wouldn't be so very safe, as there are a good number of explosive chemicals and materials nearby. But here in just a second, you'll actually get to hear the engine itself run without me applying any throttle whatsoever. And that right there, I was not applying any throttle at all. So now here is how much dirt came out of the exhaust. That's quite a bit. This was only the first time we ran it. The second time puffed out even more dirt. The dirt trail goes for quite a ways there. So as you can see from this side of the Jeep, we were able to get the Jeep running for a little bit at a time. And at the first, Dad was using a small oil pump to pump gasoline straight into the carburetor while I started the Jeep. And this is where we can see some things starting to go wrong. First, it ends up exploding the gas inside of the carburetor, which, as you could see, just sent the gasoline straight into the air. Second, this carburetor might not be well sealed since the gaskets are old and possibly cracked, as it ends up pouring gasoline all over itself and down the whole right side of the engine and everything below it. Now at this point, we've put the fuel line into a small cup of gasoline so that Dad doesn't have to stand over the carburetor and get shot by gas being spewed from the carburetor. And here in a little bit, the Jeep will actually run on its own right there. Fuel from a cup, nothing into the carburetor. It's really neat to see the Jeep finally running on its own. Here is all the gasoline that the carburetor leaked everywhere. This isn't from gas being shot out at the top. It's coming out from around the bottom seal and other seals as well. This is why we need the other carburetor fixed up before we do a whole lot more on the Jeep. Well, folks, if you've made it this far, that's absolutely awesome. I'm kind of surprised, honestly. Like, you're still here? What are you waiting for? Show's over. I mean, come on. Well, I hope you all have a wonderful day or evening. God bless you all. Well, since you're still here, how about checking one of these videos out? I'm sure you'd like the one on the left from Chris Fix, or maybe an older E4C video on the right? Well, why haven't you clicked one yet? Come on, click one.